Hey, how's it going? Today we're going to play a couple games with Black Snorlax. This deck is kind of insane right now. It won multiple majors over this past weekend, and it's only going to get better when the next set comes out because we're getting a card called Performance Flute, which says reveal the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck and put any number of basic Pokemon you find there onto your opponent's bench, and then shuffle the remaining cards back into their deck. Now, that's insane. I don't know who thought that was a good idea at Pokemon, but someone did, so Snorlax is only getting better. Now it's going to be, like, nothing is safe. You have Mantine to pull Pokemon out of the discard, Erika's to pull Pokemon out of the hand, and this Performance Flute to get Pokemon from the deck. So the only place your Pokemon will be safe is going to be in the prize cards, and there's really no, like, good way to get them there. I don't know, it's going to be unfortunate. I really wonder how insane Snorlax is going to be. If we're going to have to all start playing Minior or something. Who knows, but this first game we're up against Charizard. This is usually a pretty good matchup. They won the coin flip and chose to go first. And that's fine by me because Snorlax wants to go second. I don't know, you get to play supporters, you're less likely to get donked. One of the easiest ways for your opponent to win is by donking you, and we only have like the 4 Nest Ball, and then there's the 4 Arven, so it kind of doubles our outs to get a basic Pokemon turn 1 if we're going second. But I just throw out the YOLO Erikas because I already have another Pokemon, and we hit the Radiant Charizard, which is pretty good. Definitely happy to see that, because if they put all 5 of their energy on that, I can just bring something else up. Knowing they only have 1 energy left, they won't even have enough to like attack with their regular Charizard. Of course, they probably have a Turo, but once we get past that, you know, we're kind of good to have this in play. And hopefully they Turo it up, and if they don't have an Ultra Ball in their hand, I can just Erika's it back. Because this deck does play 3 Erikas, so there's pretty good odds that we're going to have one in our hand, so they better have an Ultra Ball as well. And this turn we Arven, I can get down the Rotom. Force Seal Stone is already in our hand, so I grab the Bravery Charm, so now they can't even one-shot my Snorlax with their Charizard, which is pretty cool. And another cool part about having the Radiant Charizard stuck in the active is it's such a high retreat cost. Like with Rotom, they can just boss and retreat their Rotom, so having the Radzard in the active, I don't even need to keep Snorlax in the active at all times. I can start Chi-Yuing once I get an opportunity to get that play off. But they Iono'd and stuff, so now I'm going to Eri to see how big their hand is. Hit double Ultra Ball, that is pretty cool. I'm definitely getting rid of those because of the play I was just talking about, where they Turo it up and Ultra Ball it, and then I got to get Mantine involved, or just hope to hit another Pokemon. I mean, they're always kind of going to have something in play that they can't attack with now that Rotom and Radzard are in play. So the odds of us winning this game are pretty good at this point. I should have put the Sandshrew in play, though, before I got Iono'd. I should have just thrown it down in play when I had the chance, but I didn't, so now it's not in play. Definitely would have liked that, because, I don't know. I didn't really think Charizards were playing a Pal Pad, but I'm not like super up to date on the tech cards that are in the Charizard decks. I know they're only playing 6 energy and the general like Pokemon lineup and stuff, but now I can miss Fortune Sisters. I was kind of hoping to like hit a Super Rod or something, but then we just rode them. This deck is kind of like straightforward to play. You just, once you have something in play that your opponent can't attack with, you just like play a Disruption supporter every turn and then draw cards with Rotom. It only gets like super difficult decisions when your opponent is able to knock out your Rotom right away. And Azul was playing 2 Rotoms, but I didn't feel like using the credits to buy another Rotom, and I thought a second Cyllene would be good, so I just cut the second Rotom for a second Cyllene. Because that's how Gabe Smart did pretty good at this as well, and he played 1 Rotom and 2 Cyllene, so I figured I'd mismatch the list a little bit. Now they have their Pidgeot in play, they get their Turo, but like I said, I have Erika's in my hand. I just got rid of 2 of their Ultra Balls. They can't even knock my guy out. We're in a pretty good spot. So I Erika's up the Radzard. I'm kind of like thinking for a second about the Bidoof, but I want this Radiant Charizard in play. They already have committed too many energy to their board to ever be able to attack with this. So I'm pretty happy to have it in play. I'm just trying to build up the cards in my hand, and I'm just going to start Chi-Yuing as soon as possible. I really don't think that there's much my opponent can do at this point. In a pretty solid spot. The Iono, kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. Now I have the Chi-Yu and a way to get energy, but I have no way to get out of the active. And I have Mimikyu too, I can throw that down. That's kind of hard for Charizard to deal with. I don't know, they have been playing more Charmeleons, I've been noticing, especially online. I've been seeing a lot of Charmeleons. And they do play the Pal Pad, which is why I should have just thrown the Sandshrew in play. Like, I already have a Rotom in play. There's nothing that bad that's going to come from having the Sandshrew in play. And they're Ultra Balling away their extra Pokemon out of play. I think they should have saved that for next turn, because I'm just going to... Well, I don't have the cards in my hand right now, so hopefully off this Rotom, like, there's decent odds that I hit another Erika's. And if they don't get rid of that right away, I'm definitely going to play that Erika's. I'm debating between Iono and Eri. And I probably should have played the Iono just to get closer to Erika's. But I kind of like where my hand is at with the Chi-Yu and the Vessel. I'm a little bit closer to starting to actively mill. But they throw down the Collapse and get their Rotom out of play. Which, I like what they're doing. They're trying to set up a board that only has Pokemon that can attack, but they do also have 2 Charmanders in play, and now they have an open bench spot, and with the Collapse, I can bump that combined with Erika's and get their Radzard back in play. And they choose to knock this out with Snorlax, or with their Charmander, I mean. Which, I kind of see what they're doing. They're thinking they can attack with this 6 times and make me take a prize, and then they're one-shotting basically everything in the deck with their Charizard. It's good logic for sure, but now they're just stuck doing 30 damage every turn, and honestly that might be like... They're doing 0 now with the Defiance Vest, but even if they were doing 30, that still might leave me enough turns to win this game before they start like actually knock a bunch of stuff out. And I'm gonna throw the fire energy on the Mimikyu just to have a retreat option. I'm also thinking about, like, it's kind of weird to not play a supporter, but I put the Erika's back into my deck and I want the highest odds of hitting that before they like disrupt my hand or anything. So I just draw with Rotom, or before they put their hand back in their deck. I don't care what they do with my hand, but once their Radiant Charizard is back in the deck, that's kind of unfortunate for me. Even though they do have 2 Bidoofs and probably a Pidgey and a Manaphy that I could catch off of the Erika's. I don't know. There's just so many like good support Pokemon right now. It makes Erika's so incredibly strong. And it's kind of random as well. Like right now, obviously I know that there's a Radiant Charizard in their hand, but turn 1, I just threw it down. I had no idea that there was a Radzard in their hand. It just happened to be there, and now it gives me the ability to know that it's in their hand now and hopefully stick it and play next turn. Which I have a Pokégear that's really good odds. There's 3 Erikas in the deck. And if I hit it, I can retreat to Chi-Yu and start milling. So I Pokégear and I immediately hit it. The reason I didn't bump the stadium and thin with Artisan first is because I wanted to keep the Collapse in play in case I missed the Erikas, because I don't want them to be able to fill their bench and then me not be able to stick that in play. So if I can bump Collapse, I can always open up a bench spot. But now that that's in the active, they're down a bunch of energy. I mill another one and I just start milling. I don't know, this is kind of risky, but I'm feeling pretty good about them not being able to move this again. Or if they do move it, like, they're not knocking out my Chi-Yu anyway. Hopefully I'll be able to just penny it up and Counter Catcher back up the Charizard. And if I could even get a Bravery Charm on this... No, there's no way that they're one-shotting it. I haven't seen their ace spec yet, actually. I suppose they could play maximum belt, which would be kind of unfortunate. Ian Robb did play max belt at the last Indianapolis regional, so it's possible. But they search out their super odd, put their energy back. That's kind of whatever. I suppose now they could put 3 onto this Radiant Charizard, or yeah, Radzard, and retreat. Hit my Chi-Yu for 180, and then they're down 5 energy, so I can just Counter Catcher something up. Even Penny my Chi-Yu. Oh, they do have Prime Catcher, but like I was saying, I have Counter Catcher in my hand. I don't know. I just feel like with this Pokemon in play, we're kind of like in a spot where it's pretty hard for us to lose. Like I can just throw the Chi-Yu back up and Counter Catcher again and keep milling. And I can even, if I hit the super out, it's definitely over. Of course I draw the Sandshrew now. Kind of funny. It should already be in play like a long time ago. Oh, get the Radiant Charizard back in the active spot. And I'm just looking to deciding if I want a Pal Pad and what I would want a Pal Pad back. I guess I could just throw back like Misfortune Sisters and Eri, or Arven or Eri, probably Arven, so that I have another way to get a Counter Catcher, and just mill again. We get the boss. That's like a really good hit. And I don't know, I think that's my opponent's second boss. They usually don't play much more than 2. I think it's like 2 boss, 2 Counter Catcher. But they're Pidgeotting, and they grab a card and concede, because this deck is kind of broken, so we just win that game without really having to try too hard at all. So I just took Azul's list and cut one of the Rotoms for a second Cyllene. And this is just a basic Snorlax list. You got Snorlax that says when it's in the active spot, your opponent's active can't retreat. Mimikyu that can't be damaged by EXs and Bs. Rotom for the draw 3 ability. Chi-Yu for a fire, discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. Mantine says for 1 colorless, put a Pokemon from your opponent's discard pile onto their bench. Pidgeot V that we can use to use Forest Seal Stone, and so that we can't ever deck out, because it says once during your turn when this Pokemon's on your bench, you may shuffle it back into your deck. And Sandshrew says trainer cards in your opponent's discard pile can't be shuffled into their deck with the effect of items or trainers. So that's really good for decks that can Pal Pad back Turo or Cyllene back Prime Catcher. We have the Arven engine for this. It lets us find our Counter Catchers, Nest Balls, and so on. Erika's invitation that says we can look at our opponent's hand and put a Pokemon we find there into the active spot. This card's kind of insane. It makes the deck really strong. Eri lets us discard up to 2 items from our opponent's hand. Misfortune Sisters lets us look at the top 5 cards of their deck and discard any items we find there, so we can get rid of their super odds and energy retrievals and stuff from their hand or from their deck. Cyllene lets us, flip 2 coins, and we can put 1 card for each heads on the top of our deck. Between that, Pal Pad, and Team Yell's Cheer, we can kind of like infinite loop whatever cards we really want. Like the deck, we should never deck out with Pidgeot, Cyllene, Pal Pad, and Team Yell's Cheer. Other than that, we just got like 4 Counter Catchers and a boss to bring up Pokemon, because that's like kind of the win condition, is to stick something in the active. And Defiance Vest, once we're behind on prizes, our Pokemon that's attached to takes 40 less damage from attacks. Between that, Bravery Charm, and Hero's Cape, we can make our Pokemon really tanky so that a lot of decks will have to 2-shot even a Snorlax, which gives us just so much time to find a win condition or 2 Erikas into an unfortunate Pokemon for them that they can't attack with. Or even if they can attack and they just like have to 3-shot our Snorlax, we can just penny loop and eventually win the game that way. And that is the list, so let's get on to the game. Alright, so we lost the coin flip again, which is kind of fine because my opponents were choosing to go first anyway. And pretty happy that we're going second this game, because I had no other way to get a basic Pokemon in my hand. And now I can like Arven for Nest Ball and Forest hopefully, and get down a Rotom, and then Forest for Snorlax and draw 3. But we top deck Nest Ball. That's very nice, because now I can get Rotom and a Snorlax and I don't have to waste my Forest Seal Stone. So I Nest Ball first just to check out what is in the deck. Just take a look through. And Forest is prized. That's unfortunate. We also prized a Fire Energy, it looks like. We have 2 Counter Catcher in the hand. I thought I prized 2 for a second. That wouldn't have been great. But I Pokégear to try and hit an Eri. I wanted to see if I could just like Eri away a rare candy out of their hand, and maybe they wouldn't be able to get out a Baxcalibur right away, which would be very nice. It would make the game a lot easier if we had a little bit more time to set up. And I draw into the Sandshrew. It's kind of weird, like I could put that in play, which is pretty good in this matchup, but that gives them another Greninja target, so I don't want to just feed them the free prize with it. I would like to put it in play after I stick the Barrel into the active with like a Counter Catcher. Also, I put the Bravery Charm on the Mimikyu. I don't think I should have done that because going behind a prize isn't too terrible right away. And I wouldn't mind them knocking that out and me being able to use Counter Catcher right here, because I could have promoted Snorlax and Counter Catchered up the Barrel, which would have been kind of cool. But I don't know. Mimikyu is really good in this matchup, but also having Counter Catcher is really good. And I put the Bravery Charm onto my Snorlax to stop them from being able to knock it out with Greninja. I think I get a little too worried about stopping my opponent from taking any prizes this game, because this is a pretty good matchup, and I'm like, I want to go behind 1 prize. You don't even mind going behind 5 prizes. Like, as long as they don't take that last prize, they can never win. And I'm just kind of focusing a little too much on not letting them take any prizes, and it's leading to going to lead to a really awkward situation where now all my Snorlaxes are, everything except Mimikyu can just be knocked out by Iron Hands for an extra prize. I did draw that boss off the last Rotom though, so now I can stick the Barrel and switch into Mimikyu. Yeah, and just keep drawing with Rotom. I could use Pokestop. I don't know, there is only 1 Super Rod in this deck, so it's kind of awkward milling too many of your Pokemon. And I would have just milled 3 cards. At a certain point though, you don't mind getting rid of most of the cards in your deck, because then you can just kind of Pal Pad and Cyllene loop the exact cards that you want every turn. We're nowhere near that point in the game though. It's still too early. They haven't even taken 1 prize. They get the 2 energy onto the Barrel. Looks like they're going to start flipping coins. And they hit me with an Iono. I'm not going to lie, I was not expecting that. Most Chien-Pao decks are not playing Iono at all. So I thought my hand was kind of safe all game, and now they're going to Iono and knock out the Rotom, which is one of the best combos that you can do against any Snorlax or control style deck, is getting rid of their draw while disrupting their hand. Because I had a huge hand. I had almost all my Counter Catches in that hand too. I don't know, it just puts us in an awkward spot. And with only the 1 Super Rod and a limited amount of Nest Balls left, it's going to be really hard to get the Rotom back. Luckily, I do have Arven in hand, so I can go grab Counter Catcher. And I can just bring up the Barrel. I do Pokestop to try and hit a Counter Catcher. I know there's only 1 on the top half of my deck, but most of the cards that I would care if they got milled are on the bottom of the deck, so I just decided to roll it. And now I can bring up the Barrel, which is pretty good. Lucky that we started the Mimikyu, because they wouldn't have put the Bidoof in play if Snorlax was in the active, I would imagine. This guy is pretty high on the ranks, which I don't know. The way ranked is set up on this game, that doesn't necessarily mean you're good, but I'm assuming that he would not put Bidoof in play if he knew he was playing against Snorlax. And I use the Super Rod while I have it. I kind of wanted the Fire back in the deck. Pretty sure that was my only one this game. And they attached the Lightning Energy. That is kind of really cool to see, because now I gets rid of the Superior, but I see that the Iron Hands is in their hand. So you know, their prime catcher's down. They can't gust and retreat off the energy. So if now that they didn't get the energy off the barrel that turn, I can just Erika's. Hopefully I play the Erika's. Yeah, Erika's the Iron Hands into the active. And now we're in a very similar situation that we were in the Charizard match, where there's a Pokemon that they can't even attack within the active. They probably couldn't retreat it if they wanted to. Like 6 of their energy are in play. They have exactly 3 energy left. It's a 4 retreat cost. Now I can just work towards getting Chi-Yu and putting that in the active and to start actually milling to get on to winning the game. This is kind of the spot you're looking for. And I don't know, it didn't take that many turns. I'm not definitely not an expert at this deck, but I don't think you really need to be an expert at this deck to play it at a fine enough level. I also wouldn't recommend playing this deck for best of 1. You can definitely win within 30 minutes, but it's like with the online tournaments, a lot of people play it and yeah, it's possible, but then they're always rushing you, and it's just kind of rude to expect your opponent to play super fast because you chose to play a deck that ties a lot. I don't know, it's very, very strong in best of 3 though. So it looks like our opponent just kind of walked away from the computer and let the time run out, but I'm just going to keep playing cards just in case. And I always find it annoying when people do this, just concede if you think you lost. This is not, I'm not playing this on the casual ladder. That would be kind of like a dick move. This is the ranked ladder, which is where you would play stuff like that. And that is Snorlax. I don't know, it's around quite a bit right now, but I think it's going to be way more popular in the next format once this next set comes out. So we'll all have to start playing mini or super effective classes. Probably not, but a bunch of Switch cards or decks that beat it. I don't know, it's going to be hard at a certain point because they're just going to have so much access to all of your Pokemon no matter where they are. And every deck right now wants to play at least a few support Pokemon that you can't always attack with. So maybe we're all going to have to start playing multiple Turos and stuff in the deck. Either way, hope you enjoyed. Take care.